Works, Park, Rec, and Railroad Committee to order. First thing, we need a motion to approve the minutes of the prior committee meeting. Moved by Supervisor Loeb, seconded by Supervisor Frazier. Any additions, corrections, deletions? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Okay, with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Benway.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first item I have is a resolution with Lime Timber in Warren County for the Hague Snowmobile Trails. It's an annual renewal.
Okay, moved by Supervisor Loeb, seconded by Supervisor Merlino. Any discussion? All those in favor? Oh, Mike?
Yeah, just have a little background. It's not a lot of money in the lake, but we're contracting with someone to do snowmobile trails.
We lease the land.
We lease the land.
Right.
Okay.
And then
Lease the land lease payment?
Lime Timber, they won't do leases to just any club. It has to be a recreational
Okay.
easement, so that's why Warren County's been doing it for, 15 plus years.
Thank you.
You know?
All right.
Okay, any further discussion? Call the question. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Second is County of Warren and the City of Glens Falls for the South Warren Snowmobile Club. And that's also an annual renewal we do every summer.
Supervisor Loeb. Do we have a second? Supervisor Frazier. Supervisor Loeb.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The part of the agreement is to use the hill that goes from the lake up to Magic Forest. Is that part of the trail agreement?
No, that's a separate, that's the bikeway. This is over off West Mountain Road where they use the parking lot from the water department. Go up the
All right. Will we be discussing the bike trail, or is that not even?
No.
All right, well, if I may, while I have the floor, using the bike trail as a tremendous asset, as we all know. The hill from Magic Forest down to the lake is pretty well, it's not a nice path anymore. Chewed up. It's serviceable. I mean, you can use it, you can ride your bike on it, you can walk on it. But is there any long-term schedule for fixing all those cleat marks that are in the pavement? It's only in that one stretch, but it's a lot of scrapes, a lot of cleat marks.
Yeah, we have in the past, we put down what would you call it, Mr. Jones?
We put down a couple different treatments on it. One's called a slurry seal or a chip seal that we put over it, and it's a very thin layer. It's a stone layer with asphalt emulsion in it. We did that a couple years ago over by Stanton Road, I believe.
Correct.
And then I think maybe a couple previous years before that, we just put down a sealer over the top of it. But the sealer doesn't repair the marks that are left by the carbides on the snowmobile trail or on the snowmobiles themselves. Typically, it needs something more like that chip seal, and we do it as an annual maintenance. We actually just paved a portion of the bike path just south of 149.
It's beautiful.
And we just completed. Yep.
So, again, the question, do we have any, maybe we can't do it every year. Putting a sealer on just raises up, you still have all the bumps and holes.
Correct.
Do we have any, like, 4-year plan that every 4 years we're going to make sure that
Actually, we
pathway is in good
developed
shape?
what we're calling a pavement evaluation with engineering to go out from section to section and actually tell us which ones, which areas to put in the budget for the following year and update these sections, and that would be obviously one of them.
And what type of treatment would be used on each one of those sections as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Garrity.
I thought we were going to kind of monitor that and let them out there. Bike trail, ice and snowball. And the marks are showing up, that only means that they're running down the surface of the snow, right?
Sure. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think we need to monitor a little closer. We went round and round with this 2 years ago. We had a lot of scrapes and marks by the overpass, and there's a lot of areas where we got. So I think what we need to do is be a little more
had them do it once before for $14,000.
I think we got to do that, I mean, you know, like that,
Correct.
we're starting to see it cool down, we need to do something.
Supervisor Merlino?
One other thing that we came up with an agreement 2 years ago was not opening the trail until
That's correct.
DPW felt there was no snow, and closing them when, so that we weren't in control of that anymore. So we left it that strictly up to farms. We couldn't go on there until they felt there was enough snow, and I think, what is it, 13 inches or something that we came up with. Is keep more snow on the trail, so it packs it down better, it doesn't get the pavement. I think that worked last year. I know some of the guys complained it wasn't open, but the law is the law and the rule is the rule, and that's for everything. But we did spend a lot of money a couple of years ago helping repave some of those places. Not pavement, but coating steel.
Do you want to say something?
No.
Okay.
I was just going to say that we had, there was many phone conversations with Tim and I this year, as well as some of the clubs calling and demanding that we open the trail. And we said absolutely not, there's not enough snow.
Is there, I've noticed up north, maybe Route 30 or some of the other roads through Franklin County, there's, on state highways, there is a different material for the snowmobile crossings. Is that something that we should look at for like a hill where, you know, the snow pack may be deep on the flatter sections, but then when you get on a steep hill where it gets chewed up quick? Is that something that...
We could, and the type of material that's used is like a resin epoxy that they put it on crossings, they'll put it on the side of the road as well. It's very expensive.
Is it?
It's not cheap, and it typically is a 24 to 48 hour cure time. So that means in that area the bike path will be closed for that period of time. But we can look into doing something in specific areas like that where it does get chewed up. It shouldn't, because there's enough snow on there, but that it does happen.
Okay, did I call it? Okay. So is there any further discussion? Are we ready for the question? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
The next resolution I have is to accept a donation from the Bolton Garden Club. Their very first president, Barbara DeSantis, recently had passed away, and they've reached out to us to plant a small tree and put a plaque in the memorial garden at Upyana Environmental Center.
Moved by Supervisor Frazier, seconded by Supervisor Loeb. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
The next information I have is National Grid's gas main project along the Bikeway. It's been going very slow in the city of Glens Falls. They've ran into numerous problems. This slide here actually depicts where we're at between Dix Avenue and Hunter. You go within 1 foot to 2 foot of soil and you're into solid bedrock. So they've had to keep hiring different size machinery until they could actually get through. They had to put this 5 feet down. This is showing a water line that the city put in that is just under the surface. So we've recently paved yesterday that entire block. This one here, actually when they were digging, all the ditches would fill up with water, and the pipeline, the 12-inch, is capped off so it floats. So they had trouble getting it pushed to the bottom and then covered back over. Back way, yeah.
That's in that section between Dix Avenue and
Hunter Street.
Cambridge.
Hunter, yep. They're all the way up through to Hunter now. Yesterday we paved. I was down there yesterday. This is the brand new surface. You'll see where it comes in from Lawton Street, Lawton Avenue on the corner. And on the right-hand side is actually, you see the yellow marker. That's the gas main actually runs along that shoulder. And then as of today, they've started doing their hydro seeding. So they're working on a plan right now to cross through Ridge Road with the city of Glens Falls. I guess there's a lot of utilities, sewer, water. They were going to bore into the road. Now they're going to dig up the road, is my understanding. So they've actually went from here they're doing the Cooper Street section and tying that up so it doesn't slow down the project anymore. But as of today, that will be all hydro-seeded and restored back to normal and open up. Yes?
Did the county pay that?
Nope, they
They
paid for
did
it.
that? Okay.
Yeah, I went down, did a pavement evaluation with the gentleman in charge from National Grid, and there was too much to do spot repair, this will pave the whole
Because
thing.
our understanding beforehand was that they weren't going to damage the bikeway. They were just shutting it down and detouring
Well,
around.
they
while
damaged
did
it, and
the
I had them
work.
pave it. They paved it.
And they paved it.
No problems.
We had requested of them, Supervisor Bramer, that if they did any type of damage whatsoever, there was going to be no patchwork out there. Either they pave the whole thing or stay off the bike path.
And when they had to bring the big excavators in to pound that rock out, it smashed it all up. It was bad.
Thank you.
Any other questions on that project? Go into the next one. I have an update with Saratoga North Creek Railroad. We've done all the stations. They're mowed and trimmed to date. Yesterday, between my department and the sign department, we went out and changed the 13 crossings that needed the blue plaques for the emergency call. So those are all in place. They will call the sheriff's department, and we're working on doing a contract with Scott Wertans, and he will obviously go out and assist us with emergency calls or inspections tonight. We also have a bunch of pictures here that we took to update you on the very last page 5 of my agenda. We have, I don't know why it's so large.
What's the little button that says the microscope? Magnifying glass? Yeah. Oh, sorry, yeah.
Okay. This is actually in the rail yard at the depot in North Creek. I've included a page that tells you where they're located, the engines. There's a total of 6 of them. Cars, there's 30 of them. The 18 hopper cars that are leased from CarMath are loaded with stones. Those are the ones we talked about that were along Route 28. They are full of stone. Okay. Some of the vehicles, we were told, do not move. They need repairs. Even with a full crew, Justin had told Kevin and I that 2 to 3 days to repair them. One of the coach cars in the yard that's under the jack has to have all new trucks. The locomotives that are sitting there have to have all new air lines or air brakes. I'm not familiar with their type of system, but he said they failed inspection. This car, they actually, I'm not sure if he said they sold or gave to the museum, so that is actually going to
Use the arrows to go
Yeah, I don't have an arrow over here.
right up by the magnifying glass.
These are just some of the examples of the ones that are actually in the yard are Mike Kelly, the ones that had the graffiti on them. There's one engine in an old Upper Hudson Railroad vehicle that is his. We got that from there. The one that's got the jack behind the backhoe, that's the one that needs repair that we were told by Justin. So that equipment's theirs. They have a bunch of stuff in the engine house, down in Riverside Station, their maintenance away, they have several vehicles there. They have school buses. These are the 18 cars here. 2 of them are in Corinth already, but those are totally full of stone. And those are leased too. They don't belong to them.
What kind of stone?
Haws.
That's
Granite.
the Haws. Yep. And then they have multiple cars. These are up just north of the station, up in the storage yard, they call it. They got 6 of those. So there's a lot here.
What are they doing? Sheriff, do you mind?
What was that?
What are they doing with them?
Well,
I think when they receive the letter that we sent them, they know that they gotta get them out of there
Did we
within
send them
30 days.
notice of the-
30 days. That was Friday's resolution.
I know, but did they get notice of that?
them? that-
Yes, they were asked within 30 days to get all of their equipment and anything that belonged to them off of our property.
Pardon the interruption, but I believe the boundary is right about there, that picture, between their track and North Cottage.
Andrea? I haven't.
We haven't either.
Whether CP is going to allow them to move the cars?
Mr. Chairman, thanks.
Supervisor
Do
Wiley.
we have any options if these cars aren't moved?
I think it's spelled out legal action.
Yeah,
It's going to be
We'll
going
have to take them to court.
The other person that needs to be notified is Mike Kelly. Yes.
This morning I received an email from Justin Gagnon. As Tim said, I believe he's just about done. I think he even stated to us that he hasn't been paid. He is still trying to get the cars out of there, but he's only one person, so they have to ship other individuals to help him get cars out of there. As of last week, when Tim and I were up there taking the photos and talking with him, it was him and the ticket girl that was left, and now it's just him. Justin reached out to me, and I know we had talked about this last committee meeting, with a proposal to assist the county through this transition, whatever that transition may be. He has given me the proposal. I haven't had a chance to really go through it yet, but he is offering up that proposal. One other thing that he is offering, and this is a company that Justin has created or he has on the side, he has asked that we allow him to use the white building that he actually has the Saratoga North Creek Railroad office in now. If after this is all said and done, that he can continue to use that facility, pay us rent for his business.
Supervisor Bramer?
Rent out other facilities. It's a little odd to rent out office space, especially with them.
And it's office space today.
Right.
That's what it should be.
I've seen his office. I think I can picture the white building is his office.
Yes.
A little conference room. Very small-ish.
Would
Does it
the-
have precedent for that kind of thing?
Would the committee be interested in developing a short-term, maybe month-to-month, with all the legalese that we need, that gives us the ability to make decisions based on what develops in the next few months, you know? It's not, I think that's a legal written agreement, but I think we can do that, you know, and I'm not sure what the current term is, what he's, terms of his current lease. Is that spelled out in anything that we have on what?
Oh, it's in the contract.
In the overall
Contract.
so we've got to, so we need to develop some kind of a, Chairman Conover?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if we're amenable to the idea, I think that DPW needs to identify utilities to be segregated. If not, you're going to need an all-inclusive lease. If they can be segregated, then you would be responsible for utilities. There's insurances. Obviously, we're going to want certain insurances, indemnifications, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then maybe come back to us with a square foot arrangement that the board committee could consider at that time. But I think there's going to need to be a little bit of an investigation here in terms of exactly whether it's going to be an all-inclusive, a net lease, or a net, see what I'm saying? You're gonna need to do some homework.
We'll have to take a look at it as well. There are limits on county leases and the disposition of property, so we would just have to take a look at everything.
Supervisor Hogan? Yeah. I was going to mention that in Hadley, Luzerne, there's a building there, Gene? Supervisor Miller? There's also the building that you and Supervisor Wright are interested in.
There's that little thing station there. I have the key to it. I can open it and close it when they open up the DPW. They want to use it for the HBA, the Hadley Business Association, wants to use it for a meeting once a month. They were in there last night. We opened it and closed it. Mr. Wright would like to know if we can make a deal that they can use the building and just sits there. We've been doing that a lot over the years with them. So I just want to make sure it's all right that we let them know on front.
Should we have an agreement with them, just cover, or can we just let a civic, it's a civic organization?
I would say it would go to the town of Hadley probably, let them worry about who goes in there instead of us.
It's our property, though.
It's our property.
I will have to check with Mary on that, but it would seem like having an agreement would be preferable.
Chairman Conover?
Yeah, I think while this is understandable, of course, given the events, while this is all going on, I think that we should secure from anyone who's occupying any of our properties binders on insurances. We should do that immediately. Some of these things are going to take some time to work out. But anybody's occupying any of our buildings, I think, are going forward, I think for the time being, they can occupy the building. We'll have to enter into some kind of lease arrangements according to the law, but while we're doing that, whether a week or 30 days, I think certain insurances should be provided to us in the event there something happens.
We also have the Revolution Rail Riders that use our
That's a
building.
great example, I think.
We want them to continue.
We want them to continue if they could just provide us a rider on their insurance while we're going through this, because we're doing this all in motion, right?
Right. Supervisor Garrity, did you?
She was first.
Oh, okay. I didn't. Supervisor Garrity.
Yeah, I mean, right now, currently, Hadley charges tax for that property, correct?
Right. That's the way it came out. I didn't want to bring it out yet, but that's the way it came out. Maybe they can work something, because we pay them taxes on that property. To have our buildings there, parking lot, train tracks, we pay Hadley taxes. So I have to talk to Mo on that. That kind of came out a little bit, but it wasn't. But I will take care of it, bring it back to you and let you know what they want to do. I don't know how much the tax now, not a whole heck of a lot, but there's also school taxes.
I don't know what the taxes are on that, but I do know under real property tax law, we can ask a municipality where our property is outside of the county to do the tax exempt for us.
They didn't want to do that.
I know they did, but maybe they do now.
The other thing that, I know we've talked about it with individual properties, but we probably need to assess all of the things that they were responsible for maintenance-wise, property maintenance, all that, because, they're still our properties and we want to continue to have them look good. Supervisor Conover?
Another thing, going to Supervisor Wild's comment, I mean, I think that the county attorney, I think now should be authorized to take any and all action required to secure our properties. That means going to court, and those kinds of going to court. And I think that there should be no hesitation on that as a state, because we don't want anybody getting injured, and we don't want that was something that's not
So should we do a resolution to authorize her to do that, or would she need that, or does she have that authority already?
Trying to remember the resolution that was in front of us at the board meeting. I can't remember its specifics, but I would say that it certainly isn't going to hurt to authorize our attorneys to take any and all appropriate actions required. Otherwise, we'll be back here a month from now. Authorizing, I mean, if you don't mind waiting the 30 days, wait the 30 days and come back next month and do it. I mean, I think it's all one and the same.
Supervisor Wild?
Thank you. What's the chance that these are gonna move? You've spoken with Justin, right? So,
I think I have no insight on that. He doesn't have any insight on it. They have 30 days. I know that, he's had no response. There's been no response from Ed Ellis. So,
I'll bring that motion to, allow our attorney to pursue, within reason. Depends how
Any
much
and all.
money she wants to spend,
Well,
but
within reason is a hard thing to define in a...
well, I understand. So I'm looking for
So
some help
any
with
and
that,
all,
but
any and all actions, hold on, we have a resolution being pushed forward. Any and all actions to secure Warren County's interest on the rail. I think that pretty much...
I think number one, we want the equipment out of here, right?
Right. So it's interest in the railroad corridor property. Maybe southern end, maybe at the northern end. It's the entire Warren County owned rail. Do we have a second?
That's a second, and also just to be clear, that really no action actually starts until after the 30-day window.
Right.
But it allows for preparation and then day 31 action.
Okay, second by Supervisor Wild. Okay, now discussion.
Well, that was kind of my point, is that I don't think we need a resolution today, because she can take whatever action she needs to between now and then. We authorize our attorney to hire an attorney. We have done that. I know Mary's already looked into insurance, making sure we're covered under the county insurance policy. I don't think there's any, legal action she can take in these next days. We just need some notice. The other thing is there might be something in the lease saying that once the 30 days are up, it's our property, these cars and stuff. We don't need to take legal action, possibly. We should probably look at that before we go fire around or litigation.
I think it was clear that it wouldn't, it's just giving her the authority now in preparation, because if we wait for 30 days, it's actually going to be 60 days, because we're going to wait another 30 to get something passed. So I think it's prudent to do this now in preparation. Any other discussion on that resolution? Okay, we'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. You want to talk about the Smart Growth Grant? Did you have...
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just one more comment on the question of 30 days, 50 days. I seem to recall a comment by Tim, one of you gentlemen, last week that some hopper cars have been sitting there unmoved for how long?
I thought
2 or 3 years. 2 or 3 years.
Yep, and they're leased, they're not theirs. His instructions were to empty them.
Right.
Justin, Kevin and I, that the other day.
But again, he doesn't have the
Where's he
crew,
gonna do it?
and where's he gonna empty him?
Oh, he's going to Wama.
So our resolution's probably appropriate, because Mary's going to have to start thinking about how am I going to approach this.
I think she's going to have to confer with that attorney to figure out a path to, move forward our desires. But she knows what we want, and I think it's just going to take some work. Supervisor Bramer?
Have you guys made any progress on public use of the right-of-way? including snowmobiles, but also as the recreation. No. Do you have any updates?
Just for
Chairman?
snowmobile use.
Right, just for snowmobile.
It's an open line, I don't, it's even without an operator that you've terminated a lease, you potentially in the next 30 days could have him transporting his property off the tracks. I don't think Warren County wants to encourage anybody walking on the tracks. I don't think we could.
It's still considered an active rail, all the way from Saratoga, as long as it's hooked up. Active rail.
From where?
From Saratoga. Once you're hooked to the main line, that's considered active. You would have to actually physically take rail out to take it off service.
Well, rail riders have done that, so wherever rail riders north of that is not active.
That's not our line.
I thought rail riders had to remove lines.
They had to put a derail, I think they do have
The
to,
derailer, but
Yeah.
it's still, I mean, they just move their stuff aside and the train are not.
and that's an agreement between SNC and rail riders, so SNC, who is operating on the railroad, would certainly make sure the train would be safe. I think that's a good question for our attorney to explore with our other attorney.
It's complicated.
Supervisor Wild.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, and prior to our action to cancel the rail line, we talked about a number of different options that we'd like to see and a number of different goals. Do we have any type of action plan for us to start exploring those different opportunities?
Leads right into my next thing to talk about.
So we're going to talk about all of them.
We're going to talk about a grant opportunity,
Okay.
smart growth grant through the DEC, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Ajos.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had talked about this last committee meeting. I didn't get a chance to look into it that much. I looked to see that the grants aren't needed to be in any time soon. But basically, the idea behind the smart growth grants is basically the question that every community asks is how do we use this land for what purpose? DEC has a grant. I don't know exactly how much money is in this program, but I'll go through just some of the things that they're looking at. Creating walkable neighborhoods, doing mixed land use, foster long-term comprehensive planning, preserve open space, forest, farmland, natural beauty, and critical environmental areas. So what I'm proposing with Tim, and Tim and I have talked about this a little bit, is we will look into seeing what, if anything, we could use the smart grant for, or smart growth grant for on the rail, and then bring it back to committee next month to discuss.
What I envision with this opportunity is to use this as a catalyst. There's also the CFA process, which, this is probably, from my own experience, I think it's either $35,000 or $50,000 of no match money. We don't have to spend any money to get that money. We can use that towards planning and developing a plan that we want to catalyst into the CFA program, where you can actually be awarded significant amounts of money for your project. The CFA is unlimited. But I think we need some planning money to start with. And this here is the closest thing that is out there. Supervisor Wild?
So what about abandonment and what the state has done, or is doing, or hoping to do?
You asking me what the state has done?
I wonder if there's
State
any
has
kind of
a-
action that needs to be taken or could be taken. Maybe we can encourage the state to push further now that we've gone forward with our action.
The state is actively, aggressively pursuing abandonment of the railroad.
Do we have an idea on timing of that, or whether we can
2
get any
years.
updates? 2 years?
2 years. Could take 2 years, that's just on, yes. Well, they can't force abandonment. I mean, that's the only line that's not owned by us. He was asking about the state's action.
I'm a little confused. We made a big decision to cancel this contract, which is supposed to create some options for us. And I'm hearing about a smart growth. Is that what we're looking for in terms of money to kind of articulate some options and plans?
I don't
Or-
think anybody, I think to develop a future of this railroad, I don't think anybody has an idea what the best course of action is at this point.
No, I don't think that we should have, a current plan right now, but we should have some ideas. Because we'll just get together next month and we'll just sit here and have no action again, and the month after. So I'm wondering if we can come up with some type of thought, some plan that says, here's what we're going to do the next month, now that we're out of this contract. Pursuing different operators, doing something more with abandonment to try to speed up the process, or whatever else we might be doing. But I'd like to see some type of plan in place, so we don't go month to month without any action being taken.
I think you would have to, I'm just throwing it out there, but I would think that you'd have to develop, start with what is this actually costing Warren County, this railroad? What is the response, the dollars and cents, and then from there pivot to, okay, if we go to the right to a rail trail, this is going to benefit Warren County this direction. Do we want to pursue either selling the line, leasing the line in another agreement with a freight operator? What do we want to do in the midterm? Because this takes time to get money to work with consultants to come up with those numbers.
So just to follow up, what's the thought? What's our next step?
I don't think I have enough information personally. I don't know what the rest of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are here today in this time frame, but if we went back a year, Supervisor Diamond, the mayor of Glens Falls, and if sitting on the county board, if we were going to say, well, we want to do something with the bike trail in Glens Falls, or something in Glens Falls, we would want Mayor Diamond to be intimately involved. What is good for Glens Falls? It's good for the county. You know my story. We're a table. We've got to take care of all corners of the county. What benefits North Creek is going to benefit Glens Falls. If we're going to do something in Glens Falls, we want the city of Glens Falls to be intimately involved. The same thing goes for that corridor that goes from Luzerne up to North Creek. We've got 4 supervisors who run towns, 4 or 5. Luzerne, Stony Creek, North Creek, and one more. Thurman. Yeah. I want them to be standing up here and saying, this is what we need for our communities, and this is how it's going to benefit Warren County. I don't think it's appropriate for us in Glens Falls dictating to them what their future is. We want everything that's what's best for the county, but I want those supervisors to say, hey, here's an asset, this is how we think it should be used, and I want them to lobby for it.
President Conover?
I would be interested in seeing an initial work plan. I'll just throw the word initial work plan under the Smart Growth grant program that will be designed to begin to take the first step. I'd be interested in seeing staff produce that and something for us to react to. We've utilized it, the Smart Growth grant program in the past involvement. So it's an excellent funding source. It has limitations in terms of dollar amounts, so you're going to have to be precise in your work plan, but that's probably a good thing as well, to be precise in terms of, what. And then the committee members can would have something to react to, including the township supervisors. We have something in front of us in terms of a work plan that, I have to believe the state of New York would look kindly on it. Grant application like this, and yeah, it might set the stage for future applications, because eventually what you would do is, and it's going to take some time here, is you have a full plan, and then you would be able to phase and strategize and be able to move forward and partner with whoever you need to partner with. I think taking an initial step through a program like this, as modest as it might be a be a good thing. It certainly would offer some resources to help us along.
Supervisor Wild.
I think it's a great idea. How long is it going to take us to get the grant application in and get a determination on that?
We'll start right on it, right away. We'll start.
So when do they award, so we're going to be talking about 6 months before we get started on a plan?
Is it in the spring? Do they have an award? Typically, it's in the spring.
Typically, it's usually in the spring.
So 9
Say
months.
sometime in April.
So it'll be 9 months before we can get started on a plan in terms of what we're going to do with the airport?
With the airport?
Or, I'm sorry, the railroad.
I think,
There's more than one.
I'm not so sure that I think that, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how you can make a decision, we've got some hurdles that we're gonna have to get over that are gonna take some time. Even abandonment is a 2-year process if Warren County decides to abandon the railroad. But I think that starting with a good footing, with a plan,
I totally agree, Mr. Chairman. That's what I'm asking for. I'm asking for a plan to start to be developed in the short term. I think
that's what we're trying to do.
9 months.
I think that's what we're trying to do. But you might have $50,000 to hire people to help us, because there's a lot of things we don't know. I don't think we're planners. Okay. And we want to do this right. I don't.
You rushing it.
Is there anything else from the committee on that? Supervisor.
Either you want to continue as a rail line or you don't want to continue as a rail line. That's pretty simple. So that would give you some idea how you want to craft the grant, right?
Right.
And weren't there talks going on with the guy that had the environmental thing up in National Lab? I mean, does he still want to try to move the pile of tailings out of there? Would he still want to do it on rail? I mean, that's one thing. I mean, Matt, I think we're being too coy. I mean,
No, I think you're right.
This is going, so let's be honest. Do the people who are along the rail line, would they like to say continuous rail line? Would you like to meet with the guy at National Ed and say, are you serious about moving 100,000 tons of tailings out of there? Do you want to move it out by rail, or are you just going to truck it to wherever you go? I think there's enough to get going here, and then you can also coexist and put part of that towards a grant and see what it would cost or how you would convert it over to a trail. I mean, I think there's enough. I mean, this waiver back and forth doing nothing, it's crazy, guys. It's crazy. I mean, there's certainly things on the table, so ask the committee what they want to do.
Yeah.
And then you've had people reach out to you that would be interested in coming in and running this. So let's call it spade a spade. There are options out there. There are people that approached us. Get them to the table. If you can't do anything for 30 days, you can't do anything for 30 days. But you can at least talk to people and move this plan along. Right?
So what does the committee want to do? Want a railroad? Don't want a railroad?
I think we need to make that decision now.
I think that's what Supervisor Garrity was just saying.
Pursue both.
Yes.
Pursue both.
Supervisor Merlino.
Decision.
That's what I mean, I agree with Kevin, and everybody knows how I feel about it. I'm sorry I missed the meeting, I thought we were the only one to say no, I'm throwing it out, but we had a couple people approach us already, and we're holding back. Now we made the decision, resolution was passed, finished with
But you
the
can have a dual
railroad.
track.
But call these people and let's get them in here. Now, if they can come up with a proper thing to say, yes, we would like to sign a contract to run a freight or tourist train or whatever the case may be, we're in a direction. If nobody shows up, then you move to the other direction and, rip up the back. I'm just
I think
not
that's the
going
point.
anywhere here.
I think that's the point. I think the future of this railroad at some point is going to be a trail. I mean, eventually,
Disagree with
the
that.
Hawes thing is going to be exhausted. Tourist train hasn't worked. So,
But you say that too loosely. And most of these, and I said it at a meeting a couple of months ago, don't realize that guy paid us over $600,000
while he was in existence, that went to our general fund to be spent all around the county. Nobody remembers that. Yes, he owes us 30-some thousand now, and that's what the big word is, and that's what's in the paper, but he paid us $600,000, so he had to make some money someplace. And if another train can come in and think they can make money, we should look into it. If it doesn't, we can't get anybody here, I have no problem with sitting here and say, let's rip up the tracks. But we're going from one end to the other end, to the other end, to the other. That stuff that these guys just showed us, sitting in those yards, those trains up there, the engines, they're worth a lot of money. There's no way in hell this guy is not going to want to get them out of here. And if he's stupid enough to leave them there, they become our property, and you'd be surprised that in 1 month you'd be able to auction all that stuff off. The other train companies, they'd come and pull all that stuff out of there. So we do have options of that way. But this is just sitting back and forth, and that was the only thing that I agreed 100% sometimes what you said. There are people along that rail that, it meant a lot to us. It brought us a lot of business in our towns when we had craft shows at the train station and stuff like that. Over the years, it feathered away because everybody gave up with the train. But, there are options. I mean, it's tough, and I'm not being sarcastic, believe me, I'm not, but it's tough for somebody in Queensbury and at large who are in Glens Falls to make a decision that's going to hurt 4 or 5 towns along the way. That kind of always bothers me, but that's our way, and I live with it. But call these two, you have 2 good calls that you keep telling me, well, I can't...
So do you want me to call him back? Do you want me to call him and invite him here?
Yeah,
That's what I want to know.
That's the way it should be done.
Okay.
Absolutely, first.
All right.
Why are we wasting that good
That's the first thing I heard from the committee that says I want to do something. And now I want to run a freight train.
Well, you don't know.
Supervisor Thomas has been waiting there very patiently.
We have a railroad, so as long as there's freight up there, and there's a possibility of moving freight and getting money from crossing our property, then we should pursue that. If there's a tourist train that's interested in doing tourist train, no. At some point, if there's no operations or no freight, then it'll become a trail. So get your smart growth grant. It'll take you 3 years to get the planning done,
Exactly.
By that time,
Exactly.
you got a railroad.
At how much a year to maintain, right?
Did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I mean, I think the committee's already said that anybody that has any proposal, put it in writing, send it to the county attorney.
Yeah.
And to the best of my knowledge, we haven't received anything in writing from anyone.
Just that one that...
So if somebody wants to send a letter of interest with some backup material, that's what should be communicated, and then it should be disseminated to the board, and then the board can evaluate it, and if the committee at that point wants to bring somebody in to talk to them, great. I mean, I think that process is already in place. Know that you can improve on that process. That's pretty straight away, isn't it? So you have a proposal, you have an idea, you send it to the county, and then we'll look at it. I think dual, what Kevin's saying in terms of dual tracks, I think I would pursue this. I don't think anything's been taken off the table. I think just keep pursuing this, and I would agree. I think that hopefully this equipment's going to be removed, and I would agree one way or another it will. But I'd keep that track going along, and that's why the resolution of the attorney is at the appropriate point in time, is 31 days or 61 days. Take whatever action you need to take to clean up our line, get this material off of our line, and that's another track. So there's multiple tracks here. That's
Supervisor Garrity.
I would suggest that you who have contacts either give it to the county administrator to pursue, or the county attorney. You did it through the county administrator. Let the county administrator, without everybody on the committee taking a little bit of voice, give it to the person we pay, the county administrator, give him the contacts, he'll formulate letters, he'll write to these people, and we'll see if they come back. Also, don't lose sight of the deal at Hobbs. Paul Mitchell is looking to move that 100,000 tons of mailing, which has been discussed, he's still looking to do it. Now, there are a little caveat, because you do have that guy that owns that first 30 miles of railroad. involved in it, but he probably likes the cash too. I think we ought to have Ryan be writing the letters to these people, and let's not keep it secret, give it to Ryan, let him reach out to these people, that's his job, and I'm sure he'd be happy with all the other stuff he has to do, to write letters to these operators and to Mr. Mitchell, saying, do you want to pursue this thing? And then you'll get an answer in writing.
Yeah, on these other operators, I mean, we put it out publicly, send it to the county attorney and the county administrator.
Wherever,
You know,
let's have one clearinghouse.
Been reported that way.
More the better.
It does. Supervisor Wild.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Kevin and Tim, do you guys have an estimate of what the annual maintenance cost is going to be right now? And the reason why I'm asking is because when I was partaking in the conversations with the railroad attorney and our attorney, the question of abandonment came up, and abandonment is much more viable if we cannot economically run the line. So if we have someone offering us $10,000 to use our line and it costs us $100,000 to maintain, we're not economically viable, and it now makes the decision much easier for us, and it's much easier to defend, to pursue the abandonment and see if we can make a trail out of the system. But we need to kind of put all the pieces together. But if we have that estimate, it might help us make a decision moving forward a little bit faster.
We did Saratoga North Creek when we originally worked the RFP out. We put all maintenance to them. All bills, everything. All the county wanted was to collect money.
Right.
So to actually give you real numbers and tell you, we'd have to reach out and ask individual companies like the inspectors how much they charge to do a bridge inspection. Roughly, I got one right now for the herbicide application. That's about $16,000. I honestly don't know what's ferry card, because the county's never done that, only the actual grant originally did it. Then once you operate a railroad, it would be your ties, your bolts, your maintenance away. So we've never had to do that, so we'd have to do a real mock-up to see what it would cost.
It's something we're going to need, unless we can get it from...
We could put a number to it. It would take a little time, but I think we could.
That's just we've never had to do it.
Supervisor Lowe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You posed the question, what does the committee want to do? First, I really like the railroad. I like the idea of having a railroad. I like the idea of having rivers, canals, highways, airways, and railroads. That makes a community. That's one part of my thought process. The other part is, what I want to do is what the supervisors who run the towns along that corridor want to do. I will support what they want to do 100%. I'm not going to dictate to them. But I like the railroad, and if we can do anything to keep that railroad in some shape or fashion there, I'm in full support of that. But not if the supervisors along the corridor say, absolutely, we don't want a railroad. Okay, and that's the way we'll go.
Supervisor Hyde.
I say rip it up.
That's quotable.
I'm not, Thurman doesn't care about the railroad. They would rather see that die. That's pretty much what it seems to be, to me, that they think, because people do talk about it. It's done nothing for us at all, and I think it would be better to be a trail.
Thank you. Okay,
That's what I think. And
so are we
I
done
think it-
talking about this?
Did we provide any direction?
I think you did. We're gonna apply for the grant. We're gonna come up with a description of a grant for the next meeting. All these people, it's publicly, I'm sure Mr. Lehman will include that in his story, that we're entertaining any proposals on Warren County line. Anybody that I talk to, I will say, we're accepting any proposals. I'm sure the committee will do the same, and we will have two paths. 1 second, Kurt. Hold on. Is that what I'm being...
Plus the administrator is going to...
What's the administrator?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I'm saying, yeah.
We'll work together on that.
But I'm saying that anybody that asks me, I'm gonna tell them, bring them to Warren County, to Ryan. But they do need to go through Ryan, county administrator.
Does this work? What do all the corridor supervisors say? Is that what they want?
It's my understanding that as long as the potential for freight exists and the abandonment hasn't happened, we have a railroad. So I think we need to look at all options so we can understand that we are limited in where these costs can go for the time being. Of course, we'd love to see a viable tourist train. We'd love to see anything operating on that. But we are limited, and we just need to take small steps to get there. I don't think we can state where we're going in the end. We're being scared to ask that.
Well, you said, of course, we would like to see a train. That's what we want here.
Well,
As opposed to, of course, we want to see a trail.
I misspoke. We would like to see what will bring the greatest economic benefit to all of the communities along that line. If somebody brings me numbers that show me that ripping up that rail line and putting in a bike path is going to bring the greatest economic benefit, then yeah, I'm all for it. But I haven't seen those numbers.
You want us to dictate to you what it's going to be?
I want every single one of the supervisors invested in this process.
All right, but it's your, okay.
Supervisor Hyde.
I don't think it's ever really worked out very well, and it's time for a change.
Okay, the privilege of the floor is usually at the end, Kurt, but you've been going,
Well, I'll be very
please be brief.
As you know, I've been working on the trail idea for 8 years. And one of the things I'm sitting there, I've actually learned a lot of things in the past 8 years that not all of you know about, especially about the economic benefit. There are resources to examine what the potential is economically from similar trails out there. And that's a key thing. This is a complicated decision you're facing. I mean, to try to compare the potential benefit to Warren County from running stone down from Taos. You got to take a percentage of that. Is that a 30% likelihood? How much money is that to the county? You got to compare that to what kind of money can be made from opening a new B&B along the corridor somewhere. And we're talking about a big trail here, potentially running from Saratoga all the way to Taos. I disagree with the notion that it should be up to the towns that the rail goes through. The First Wilderness Corridor, for example, includes Chester. We're in that corridor, so it's bigger than just Thurman, Stony Creek, and Johnsburg. So, but my point is, it's complicated, and what I would like to see very badly is a committee, an ad hoc committee probably, that includes folks from this committee, but also tourism, since a bigger thing. We're talking about the comparison between public works sort of thing and tourism. So there has to be I think there should be a committee appointed just to study, just to gather the facts, just to try to get closer to an economic analysis. And then we have all the legal things too, but we're not making a decision about this just by beginning to study the situation. There's a lot of homework to do here, and I don't see anything being done. And I find that very disturbing. We should have been doing this years ago. Why should we do railroad or trail? I mean, that's a complicated decision. Let's do some homework. Let's get a committee together to look into that.
Thank you. Supervisor Hyde.
The train kind of lends itself to maybe older people who like to ride, and like maybe the baby boomers who are getting older, but the young people, like say down in the city, that like to come up north, they're looking more towards hiking and skiing, and they like to get out, and why couldn't we use it to and promote physical fitness and exercise, and people come to Warren County, they come to ski, they come to cross-country ski. Now we have these, we could have, I know it's not as simple as that, but
Oh, good point.
it could be, it could really attract a lot of people. Beautiful cross-country, it could be a cross-country ski trail, it could be a horse trail, it could be a bike trail. I mean, you could promote the Adirondacks for physical fitness and health and all those kinds of things. Instead of a train that rides along so slow that a lot of people want to jump out and run along beside it because it goes so slow. I couldn't stand to ride in that train. It hardly moves. What are you laughing at?
Thank you.
What?
That's a funny picture you paint.
Okay.
I'm telling you, young
Yeah,
people
just
like
Parks
to,
and Rec.
they like
Agree.
to move. They don't want to sit on a train that pokes along. And those are the people we got to start thinking about, attracting them.
True.
Okay, we gotta move along into our DPW.
Why is everybody laughing? One of the way you described it.
I totally agree with your sentiment.
And I know it's complicated, and there's a lot to look at, but that's what I'd like to see
I think
happen.
Kurt has a good point. Why aren't we studying it? Trying to figure out what's gonna make the most sense, and I know it's gonna
That's what the Smart Growth Grant, I think that's what I don't know.
Half of us will be gone because our terms
move
will
on.
end.
All right, we gotta move on to the DPW, rest of the agenda, please.
We're done with this one.
We're done with, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first action, the first request on the, you don't have a DPW?
It's government.
You were in the
The first request is to transfer funds for the road machinery fuel farm.
Gotta know.
This is in reference to the maintenance for our fuel farms. The fuel farms, this is the one. It's a request, I'm reading right now. This is a request to transfer money to there because the railroad, or I'm sorry, the railroad, I've got railroad on my mind now.
Airport.
The fuel farms this past year, we took money out of the maintenance account to put to the fuel project up in Warrensburg. As you recall, I brought it to committee that we had some issues with the existing manways. We took money out of this maintenance account to put to that capital project for those manways. But I said during those meetings that I will need eventually maintenance money to do the normal routine maintenance for the fuel farms. So this is a request to put $5,000 back into that maintenance account.
Okay, would somebody like to move that? Supervisor Frazier, seconded by Supervisor Merlino. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
The next resolution request is to authorize an amendment to the municipal highway maintenance contracts with various towns. Each year, the rates are reviewed. The contracts themselves are renewed every year, but the rates will not stay the same. Basically what we do is we typically look at the previous 3 years, do an average, and come up with a rate that we would pay the towns to do the work. So this is just, the current rates were changed, a little slightly different from last year. I think the total spent last year in mileage was I think it's 1.4 million. This year it's about 1.376 million.
Moved by Supervisor Loeb, seconded by Supervisor Frazier. Supervisor Garrity.
I know sometimes we get complaints on the county, taking care of county roads. Are you satisfied with these numbers? Are you satisfied with the earnings and taking care of county roads?
I am. We've had a couple issues over the past couple of years, Supervisor Garrity, with some, and once we've talked to the highway superintendents, they've gotten on to doing what they were supposed to do.
Supervisor Loeb.
Question on the chart. I wonder why it costs so much to sweep a road. And they're also, for mowing, there's two different prices, $140 per mile or $280 per mile.
if you look on there, the mowing is either once or twice a year along our county roads. The $140 per mile is typically that they do it in late June or July, and then the $280 is they would do it twice a year.
So, which are they doing?
It depends on the town. Some
Oh, okay.
towns will do it once a year for us, other towns do it twice a year for us.
All right, so then $554 to
To
sweep the road?
roads. Yeah, the price breakdown on these are based on, again, what our average costs are for the 3 years. So the total cost included in here is what it costs DPW to maintain our roads in the winter. Not necessarily these roads, just to maintain our mileage of road. We use that cost to be broken down into what the towns would receive.
Okay. Thank you.
Supervisor Sokol?
Why is Washington County on the list?
They have a portion, Pilot Knob Road. They do a portion of Pilot Knob Road for us. Yes.
Where did we lose? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor, say aye. Opposed? Carried.
The last resolution request I have is to enter into a contract with a paving contractor yet to be determined, putting out bids for a paving contractor to pave the front parking lot out here for the court facility. We originally had this in the contract with Bunkoff Construction. The contract that was done with Clark Patterson when they did the engineering on this was almost 3 to 4 years ago. We have some issues in that parking lot, issues that we feel, after we had looked at the parking lot, that there'd be significant change orders with the existing contractor out there that we feel that are unnecessary. So the county has decided to do the maintenance and repair work. There's some drainage work out there up front, and then we would put out a bid to the contractor just to do a top course pavement over the parking lot. We feel the cost that we issued a change order with the contractor for the court. That gave us back $90,000. We feel after engineer's estimate with the bids, they're probably going to come in somewhere about $70,000.
Someone like to move that? Supervisor Loeb, seconded by Supervisor Merlino. Discussion?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just for education, I'm wondering how this discussion of change orders here relates to the discussion we had yesterday for change orders.
Well, that was a change order credit to us. I don't necessarily, I think I need approval, and I don't feel I need approval for a change order for a credit back to us. For me to spend the county's money, absolutely. And this isn't a change order necessarily, this is just to put this out to bid to somebody else. The change order was a credit back for the work that was to be done by them.
Okay. Thank you.
Supervisor Bramer.
Is this just for the existing parking lot?
Just the-
Up the main entrance of the court?
The main parking lot out in front of the municipal center. Yep, from the circle down to the new courthouse facility.
Okay, because I've been paying attention to the usage of the little lot, the one that's gravel right now.
Which is the commuter parking lot.
Okay. And, it hasn't always been full, and the other side seems like it could carry the capacity of that parking lot.
That parking lot was put in, not necessarily for commuter parking, it was put in a couple years ago because the contractor for the court facility had taken over most of the parking lot out front.
Right.
Since then, we've labeled it as a commuter parking lot. I mean, I typically see 2 or 3 cars in there on the weekends. It doesn't necessarily need to be kept at that. There was discussion of actually paving that sometime later this year as well.
Right, that's what I'm questioning. I don't think we should pay that. It's not getting heavy usage.
No, it's not. It's not.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The last thing I have is the last 3 pages are the overtime reports and the fuel usage reports. And there may be a slight difference from last month. We're up a little bit in May as far as the diesel, typically because we're starting to do more construction work this time of year. Regular gas, I think, is probably along the same lines. I believe the overtime report for this month is well below what we had this time last year.
Questions from the committee? Anything further to discuss? Supervisor Hyde?
I would just like to say that you guys did a really nice job on Valley Road.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn? Supervisor Loeb, seconded by Supervisor Wild. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those